Because of the concrete shortage, I sadly had to contract out the pouring of the concrete slab. I really wanted to do it myself, but we simply could not order concrete from the concrete suppliers around here, the ready mix suppliers. So we went with a contractor. It was not great. It was supposed to be a smooth slab, and here you can see a bunch of photos of the errors that were made. And I put the quarter next to it for reference to send to the contractor, and thankfully he responded and tried to make it right. He came with a surface grinder and went over the whole slab, but there were undulations. Water would pool in certain areas instead of flowing out of the garage as it was supposed to, and there's a little bit of difficulty with that, but he did smooth out the slab so that those larger issues were removed. And the feedback that I had gotten was ultimately that the concrete order got mixed up from the yard, and there was a couple doses of fiber in this concrete. He claims that the concrete was actually supposed to end up in some China trade center that was being built in the area, and we inadvertently got that concrete. So it was a 7 bag. It had the fiber reinforcement in it. It was basically a lot stronger of a concrete, and they weren't expecting the fiber. And so as they were troweling it, they were getting that fiber up to the top, and the contractor, owner of the company, he left the job to go work on another one, and his guys were just kind of left on their own to finish it. And ultimately, he owned the mistake, but it didn't really change the result a ton. So I was a little bit bummed about that. I guess that sort of thing can happen to anyone, but I tried to be as good of a customer as I could and accepted what he came back and ground down, and then we went from there. So with the slab poured, felt like a much different space. It was really nice to move past that. And so we ended up deciding to go with an epoxied floor, especially after the slab debacle. We used the clean strip concrete and metal prep on the bare concrete. It's an acidic solution. Broomed that in with a bristle brush, so poured it everywhere and broomed it in, and you can kind of see when it hits the concrete it foams up a little bit, and that's supposed to basically prepare the concrete to accept whatever surface finish you're going to be putting on it, whatever paint or epoxy you're going to be using. And it worked pretty well. We then neutralized it with baking soda, so you can see us throwing the white baking soda all over to neutralize it and wash it out. So that was the final cleaning step. And then we applied an adhesive prep. So basically kind of a clear coat that they recommend, and it goes on milky white. It kind of dries up and into a clear film, and you can barely tell it's there. It kind of creates a little bit of a tacky surface, and it's supposed to promote adhesion of the epoxy layer, basically the paint layer that you're going to put down. Once it was completely dry, we used the 1-part epoxy. It's a Bayer premium product as well. And we ended up doing the gray. It's a self-priming 1-part epoxy interior exterior concrete floor paint, and that worked pretty good and had excellent coverage. Honestly, we ended up with some left over, and I probably should have just used a little heavier of a coat on the second coat, but ultimately really happy with that product. It did well. The flakes were an interesting process. We ended up going really light on the flakes compared to the recommendation. And so we ended up with extra bags of flakes. And looking back on it, we really should have used more. We didn't quite know what we were doing, and it seemed like a lot when we were putting it down, but really we should have just cast a whole lot more of the flakes. So live and learn. It was our first floor. Ultimately, it turned out pretty well, and it's been holding up, so happy with the way it turned out. And the little flakes, whatever, it's cute, right? So people can come in and they can comment on the cute little flakes we have. So we went with a clear top coat. Really happy we did this, because honestly, that stuff is really hard. So the clear coat was a two-part epoxy you had to mix up, and it was 100% solids. It's just a way of saying that when it cures very hard, so it can resist a lot more impact. It'll take a lot more wear and tear. That's not to say that it's perfect, but it definitely is a very good way to go to increase the durability of the floor. So this was how we finished it off. It gave it a really nice surface finish, very smooth. There was a slight amount of yellowing of the clear coat, the two-part epoxy, from where the sun was hitting it while it was curing, and they do say that might happen, but it wasn't significant, and for this garage wasn't a huge deal. If this had been a pretty high-end job or whatever, if I were rich enough to care, probably would have made a difference. But you know, for little old me, little yellowing just looks like it's broken in, and you know, some people pay extra for that sort of stuff, so who am I to sneeze at it? So just to go back over what we did once the slab was poured, we used the clean strip concrete and metal prep on the bare concrete. It's an acidic solution. So after using that and brushing it in with a wire brush, we came back and neutralized it with baking soda and water, and then completely washed all of that off. Once it was completely dry, we used the bare interior exterior concrete and masonry bonding primer. So it's supposed to basically promote adhesion of your top coat and take down the likelihood of peeling or hot tire pickup, you know, just help with the overall fusing of the epoxy to the concrete. So we did a coat of that. Then we came through with a one-part epoxy. It's a Bayer premium product as well. And we ended up doing the gray. It's a self-priming one-part epoxy interior exterior concrete floor paint. And then finally, that top coat was the Rust-Oleum Epoxy Shield Premium Top Coat, 100% solids. Coverage was really good. It was the high gloss, and honestly makes for a great way to protect your floor and make it easy to clean. We can show a picture in here of, you know, about 1.5 to 2 years of use, and honestly there was a couple little chips that happened early on, but that was more from my own fault of not giving a continuous coat, having a little bit of a light spot. But as a whole, the floor has been used and abused and very easy to clean up. So I've had a lot of stuff all over the floor, spills, oil, coolant, brake fluid, all sorts of stuff, and I'm able to mop it up fairly quick, which is really nice. As a whole, the floor has stood up very well, so I was happy with this process. And the most exciting part of being done with that floor prep is knowing that you can start moving stuff in, start using it for, you know, the reason it was built to be used for, which for us, just projects, general storage, you know, all that good stuff. This garage was a little over half the size of the square footage of our house, so you know where our priorities are. Hope you enjoyed the video and the overall garage build series that we put together here. I hope it helps somebody. Really happy as a whole with the entire process. Took longer than we thought, cost more than we thought, but pretty much a standard project. So feel free to subscribe and check out some more of our videos. We'll be trying to post additional projects. We've always got something going on, something fun going on around the house, so come join us for the future projects that we haven't filmed yet. Thanks for watching.